I'm still waiting on the frickin' intercooler piping to get here, but we did get my turbo blanket on, and I got an O2 sensor welded into the downpipe here, and I also made a brace off of the engine that just goes right to the downpipe there, and this thing is frickin' solid. It's not moving much at all anymore. Before it would move quite a bit, now it's pretty rigid. I've never used a turbo blanket before, but on 3 actually messed my order up. They did not send me a T4 inlet flange. They sent me a turbo blanket. I wasn't going to complain because I feel like the turbo blanket is worth more money, so I just took the turbo blanket and got a T4 flange elsewhere. So, yeah. It actually looks pretty sweet sitting on here, but yeah, like I said, I've never used one, so I don't really know how they work or how good they work. So I'll let you know what kind of temperatures we have under here after I heat wrap everything too. So let's go try to find this intercooler piping. So I've been on the phone with the post office for about, I don't know, say an hour, just because I keep tracking this intercooler piping, and the delivery date has been pushed 3 days, and it's been in Oshkosh for 3 days. So I called the post office, and they've been digging around and digging around and digging around, and the guy actually just found the package, so I'm just picking the thing up. I'm not even waiting for it to get delivered because I just want to go fast. I just want to go boosting. That's all. So now that I got the piping, I had to mark where I wanted to put my blow-off valve on this piece of pipe here. Just scratched it a little bit to tell where I wanted to put this blow-off valve onto there. And now I got to take it to my buddy so he can aluminum weld it. So we got the intercooler piping, and now it's time to just fabricate some pipes and see what fits. I'm going to start on the cold side here, or the hot side I should say, and I just took one of the U-bends and I cut it in the middle to make a 90, and then this is that 2.5 to 3 inch coupler, which will slide through the fender here and hook up there. So now we're out, and now we just need to connect to the intercooler down there. So I skipped a few steps. Actually, I skipped a lot of steps. I didn't film. I apologize. But I got my intercooler piping on. Here we are. Just kind of goes down and around. There's a U-bend down there that hooks right into the intercooler here. And then obviously the hot side, or the cold side here, or hot side I should say. That's all on. The bumper fit with no trimming. The bumper fits awesome. I don't know if you can see in there. Probably not. The intercooler is really well hidden. So I did skip a bunch. I left my camera at home. I took this thing on a test drive, and all I can say is I can't, I'm like speechless. I'm so happy. This thing overestimated my expectations, literally for the first drive. It blows these 26-inch slicks off from like a 30 roll on 6 pounds of boost. So it's fucking fast on 6 pounds. It's not completely done yet, obviously, but I'm getting it dialed in. I got my decapped injectors in, and yeah, I had a oil pressure gauge issue, and my oil pressure gauge was not reading because the sensor actually or the sending unit went bad, so I put a new sending unit in, and now my oil pressure reads. I also fixed the tach. I also fixed up my tach here, and the RPM is reading perfectly. This is that $42 tach I showed you in one of the last videos, and I think I had it set on 4-cylinder mode, and I tried switching it while I was driving, and it didn't do anything. You actually have to turn the power off to the gauge, then change the setting to 8-cylinder, and then turn the key back on, and now it's working fine. So great investment for 42 bucks right here. My buddy welded my eBay blow-off valve on. It looks pretty sweet. He does a pretty good job welding. Aluminum's tricky, so I give him props. Yeah, this thing holds a rock solid 6 pounds of boost. That must be what the wastegate is set at, 6 pounds, and it don't mess around. it just holds rock solid. I don't know if you remember my On 3 build that I did on my Turbo Silverado. That manifold that I purchased that came with the kit, boost creeped to like 18 pounds of boost. And I had to add a second wastegate to it just because the placement on the manifold was complete garbage. I put this one pretty much right under the collector for the turbo, and it is having zero issues. It's working phenomenal. I also put a piece of screen on the turbo here so it doesn't suck up birds or squirrels or raccoons or varmints or anything. Just won't really drive in too much in the rain, obviously. What else do we get done? This thing is freaking awesome. Like I said, I couldn't be happier with this. I'm fucking speechless. It's so fun. I would love to just keep driving it, but the motor is running a little bit hot. If you drive it longer than like 20 minutes, it starts getting upwards of like 215, which I don't know what the deal is, if the radiator is too small. This is just a stock Mustang radiator, and just a stock LS1 water pump, and I just have that fan on it. I might need a better fan, maybe, but it seems like once the motor heat soaks a little bit, it starts running 215. I seen 220 once, and I shut the car off. But yeah, so I got to figure out why it's running hot, and then the trans that I have in here. The 2-3 shift is kind of lazy under boost, so I might take the valve body off of the trans, and I think there's some accumulator springs you can mod or take out to firm up the 2-3 shift, and I might end up doing that. I don't know, a bunch more with this car, but honestly, as is on 6 pounds of boost, this thing is freaking awesome. So I hope you guys enjoy this progress that I've made on this car. Literally in no time, I built this. I mean, I threw the motor in and stuff like that. That took a little while just because it's a swap. You're putting a Chevy motor in a Ford. But as far as the turbo kit went, that only took me like 3 days. Just like the On 3 truck. That only took me a couple days too. So it's not that difficult. Obviously, you can make some janky ass hot side. You can use the stock truck manifolds and merge it like a piece of shit, and this thing works awesome. So maybe I'll wait a day to post this, and I'll get some footage of the car tomorrow. Ripping. Put an exhaust ring over the downpipe here. Looks pretty good. The pipe is actually cut at an angle, so like it's kind of hard to get it through the exhaust ring. That's why it's scraped up a little bit here, but I ain't too worried about it. It looks pretty good though, so you can't see like the raw cut. That's kind of the purpose of an exhaust ring, I think, just to kind of make it look a little better. I don't know what else I got done here. I'm actually going to I'm going to be putting a different thermostat in, because I know that the truck thermostats are trucks pretty much run at like 210 all the time, or like honestly like plow trucks and stuff run at like 220. So I'm going to be putting a new thermostat in the Mustang today, and see if we can get my temperature down a little bit. It was running around 215, 220 last night, which is a little bit too hot for what I like to run them at. I usually stick them right around 195 or 200. So I'm going to try a different thermostat. I'm going to put the 160 degree thermostat in, and see if that helps at all. I just got the new thermostat in. Just letting it run, checking the temps. I actually installed a 160 degree thermostat, and I checked because I have an F-body water pump. I was curious if the truck versus the F-body thermostat was different or not, so I went to the parts store, got both of them, and checked them both over, and they are identical. So the truck and the F-body both carry the same thermostat housing. The only difference being is the temperature they open at. So I had a truck thermostat in my F-body water pump, which I feel like is a no-no, and I think that's why it was running hot. So I put a 160 in it and drilled a little hole in it to help with bleeding, and we'll see if that fixes the issue and see if we can get this thing under control. So the car's been running for about 10 minutes. I didn't have the fan on to get it warmed up, and once it hit like 185, I clicked the fan on, and it's literally been sitting at 186 now for a few minutes. Hasn't moved. So hopefully it stays this way. I'm gonna leave it run for like fucking 10 minutes. Just make sure it doesn't get any hotter than, you know, 210 or whatever. So it's also like 85, 90 degrees outside, and this thing's just baking in the sun right now. So this should be a pretty good test to see if it's gonna run hot or not. Just cruising around, checking temperature, and it was rock solid sitting in the driveway, and now that I'm driving a little bit, it's running around 214, 212, 214. So I don't know, I might need a bigger radiator, so we might have to get one of those. I don't know. I mean, I've been driving for like 30 minutes and it's only 214, so I mean, it's not like overheating catastrophically or anything, so I feel like we'll be okay, but definitely something we're gonna have to look into. Do a little pull here. Jesus. This thing is fucking insane. And it's on 6 pounds. 6 pounds of boost. This thing's just fucking all over the road with 26-inch drag slicks. Man. Just, and it spools like immediately. Oh, this thing's fun. So I put the lower temp thermostat in. I put a 160 thermostat in it, drilled a hole in it, and this thing was still getting hot after like 20 minutes of driving. It would be fine, but it would slowly creep up to like 215, 220. And I don't like running my motors that hot, so I looked into it some more. And I actually did not have the crossover here from head to head hooked up. I just had them plugged. And I think that's a big no-no. So I hooked it up, and then I just ran a hose from the crossover here into the water pump, because I don't have an outlet on the radiator to put it, and put a different fan on. I don't know if this one blows better than the other one or what, but the hottest I seen now after doing that stuff was 200 degrees. And most of the time it was at like 195, 196, which is perfect. So I think, honestly, the crossover was my issue. It could have been the fan too, I'm not sure. But good news is I just drove it for like 35 minutes and it never got hotter than 200 degrees. So I think our cooling problem is solved, thank God. But we're going to be doing some more on the Mustang here in the next coming days, so stay tuned and subscribe if you're new, like the video, and thanks for watching.